Hey YouTube, welcome to another Valkyrie Connect video. My name is Hakeo, and in this video we'll be going over the mechanics, gear choices, and team building for the Connect Thiazi. Thiazi specific tokens will allow you to purchase the item Thiazi Fur Coat. Thiazi Fur Coat hits 3 random enemies with magic attack, the first attack dealing fire, second water, and third earth. The base stats of the item grants magic attack, magic defense, and evasion. I highly suggest this item mainly because you use it for other connects, and is actually a pretty good piece for a mage. As you progress through the difficulties of Thiazi, you will notice that he's accompanied by 1 or 2 sets of crystals. The first set has 2 types of crystals, a fire and water type. The second set has just 1 type of crystal, the earth type. Notice that each type has their own resistance, and you should build your team around that accordingly so you can crush the crystals as soon as possible. Thiazi has an activated and auto ability. His activated ability deals magic attack damage to 2 random enemies. Just like his equipment, the first attack deals fire damage, the second attack deals water, and the third attack deals earth. Keep note that there is bonus damage towards Aesirs. His auto ability is a connect wide ability that deals earth magic attack damage to all units while applying a specific debuff to them. Keep in mind that each concurrent debuff will stack. The only debuff that's excluded is HP down. Next up, we'll be going over some example items that you can use in the Connect. We'll start with the single target items, AoE items, and then armor pieces to help you sustain the incoming damage or to nullify the debuffs that you get. Starting from the top row, we have our AoE weapons. We have Stillwater Greatsword, Cursed Mask, Key to Asgard, and Grimoire of Accusation. The second row are our single target items. We have Lunar Cane, Dusk, Shining Soleil, and Dainslick. And the last row, we have our armor and 1 weapon. We have Glacial Cloak, Mithril Mail, Crystal Armor, and Gungnir. The one weapon that stands out of all of these weapons from the AoE to single target is the Stillwater Greatsword. The reason behind that weapon is to destroy the fire crystals behind Thiazi to quickly get rid of it. The rest of the items are primarily used to damage Thiazi, and you mainly want to rely on your units to get rid of the rest of the crystals. When choosing your armor and accessories, you want to look for pieces that either create a barrier, mitigate the magic attack, or to nullify the debuffs that he gives out. That's the reason why Gungnir is in this slot instead of an offensive slot, because the primary purpose is to help keep the debuffs off of your units. If you don't have Odin, there is another unit that will be going over to nullify the debuffs on your team. Next up, we have our example units. I'll be going over the tanks, healers, and then DPS. First off, we have Niji, Hrungnir, and Idun. Since both Niji and Hrungnir aren't Aesirs or humans, they can avoid the bonus damage as well as the confuse from Thiazi. The other plus side is that since his auto ability deals earth magic attack damage, them having a very high resistance towards the earth element allows them to sustain even more damage incoming. The plus side to using Niji is her barrier, which allows you to mitigate 100% of the incoming damage for 100% of her HP. Hrungnir on the other end is able to sustain most of the incoming damage due to his high HP pool as well as his high earth resist. Though Erd has very low earth resist, her ability to heal for X amount of turns makes her very powerful for this connect, as well as her secondary effect where she buffs the defense and magic defense for the entire team. Idun isn't really a healer or a DPS. Her ability allows you to nullify all stat debuffs for 3 turns to all your units on the team. This makes her pretty powerful since Thiazi tends to stack all the debuffs with his auto skill. Having her on the team allows you to negate the debuffs, which allows your team to maximize the damage going out. If you have a DPS in her place, just make sure you're able to compensate with the stacking debuffs. Next up, we have our DPS. We have Sif, Saber, Liesha, and Zato. Keep note that each of these units besides Liesha deal light or dark damage, being Thiazi's weakest. Liesha is a great crystal crusher mainly due to her neutral damage and her ability to hit the 2 nearest enemies. The other units are pretty self-explanatory. They deal light or dark damage towards Thiazi being his weakest resistance. One thing to keep in mind is that Zato has very low earth resist, and you may want to hybrid his build where you have some defensive and offensive pieces if he can't live. Next up, we have our last line of DPS. We have Hel, Odin, Ranko, and Sienna. Hel is mainly for the dark damage, which is Thiazi's weakest element. Odin is able to equip Gugner, which allows your team to be nullified of the debuffs incoming from Thiazi, making him a very powerful unit. On top of that, he deals like magic attack damage. Ranko is pretty good for crystal crushing, mainly due to her neutral damage just like Liesha. The difference is that she'll hit 3 random enemies instead of the 2 nearest enemies. And Sienna is a pretty uncommon unit to see due to her low tier status, but she is actually pretty good for this connect, since she deals bonus damage towards Jotun, and it's dark damage on top of that. Each of these units have pretty moderate earth resist besides Sienna, so you want to be careful since her base defense, magic defense, is fairly low, and on top of that her resistance is pretty low, so be careful when using it. Remember that these are just example gear items and units that you can use in the Connect. There are many others that I haven't mentioned, so just look at your roster, see what you can do, and make the best of your resources. A few last things to keep in mind about Thiazi is that you want to avoid using as many Aesirs or humans as possible due to the bonus damage as well as the confused state that one of the crystals put out. You want to destroy the crystals as soon as possible to avoid all of the debuffs and the damage that they can put out on you. And with that, if you aren't already involved in the Valkyrie Connect community, I will provide a link to the Discord and Reddit below in the description. If you like the video, please like the video. If you like this type of content, please subscribe. And if you want to see what I've been up to in the game, please follow me on Twitter, as well as what's happening on the Japanese side of the game. And until next time guys, take care.